Well, thank you all. I'm looking at all these great good evening from France. Oh my gosh, fantastic. Uh, uh, Vanessa, you are amazing. I follow you on YouTube. Thank you. Uh, from Canada, from Ottawa, London, Ontario, Seattle. Oh my, goes on and on and on. So there's a lot of Canadians here. Those Canucks, I love those Canucks. I love that when I fly out of Toronto or out of Canada, I clear U.S. customs before I ever leave the airport. I love
Yeah,
that part. So that when
that's
I
helpful.
land at a normal gate. I don't have to go through customs. It's great. So anyway, well, thank you all for being with us. I'm Tony Corbell. I get to be the host of this thing, and I am in my little studio in Muskogee, Oklahoma. I've spent much of my life in San Diego, 7 years in New York City, and then now I've remarried and moved out here into the woods of Muskogee, Oklahoma. And I've got a beautiful studio here that I share with my wife, who is a master photographer herself. In fact, she's not here right now because she's shooting a swimmer not far from here.
Oh, wow.
But we have this great little space, about a 3,000 square foot space in downtown Muskogee, Oklahoma, and so that's where I'm coming to you from our little spot here. Vanessa, you are coming to us from, I think, still New Jersey. Is that
Yes,
correct?
I am in New
And
Jersey still, but the days are numbered.
the days are numbered. You know, I was there for 7 years. I lived in Morristown,
Oh, yeah.
and
I was in Morristown
in
for a
Morris
wedding
County.
last weekend.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was just off the 287, very near the Washington headquarters, where my
Mm.
home was. In fact, not far from the Pro Photo headquarters. So
Oh, yeah.
that's
They're
a
right around there.
yeah, just a couple of blocks from the headquarters of Pro Photo. And thanks to Pro Photo for really for putting this together for us, as well as Fujifilm for helping to put this together. And we appreciate them so much making this happen. So. Well, we'll get started. Let me just ask a couple of questions to get us off the start here. Last time I saw you, we were in LA. I saw you at Sue Bryce's studio.
That's right.
We were both speaking on a thing for the wedding school with
Hmm.
with that group of knuckleheads, and it was so much fun. It was just I hadn't looked at the list. I just walked in and saw you, and it was like, oh my gosh, there's Vanessa, and it was really great to see you there, and it was fun.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and I think for those of us that have been around a while and doing a lot of teaching and stuff, it really is nice when we get to see each other, and we don't often get to, but it is nice when we do get to, because we all
It
share a
is.
lot of the same beliefs and values, and the same feelings towards what we're trying to convey and get across. And
Absolutely.
for me, I've always been known as a lighting guy, and I've always loved the fact that you are the same way. You teach light as well or better than most people that I know,
Oh,
and I
thanks.
love that about you. How did that come about? Well, I'll
It's
get
kind
back
of
to your roots in a minute,
hysterical.
but the lighting thing is so
Yeah.
great that you do.
It's hysterical because I was your true natural light photographer because I didn't know what to do with Flash for the longest
Yeah,
time. And I hated Flash. And I tried to learn it a couple times and it frustrated the crap out of me. Back when I was using, well, I could say this because this is pro photo thing and I won't piss anyone off, but I was using like Pocket Wizards and Radio Poppers and just other systems that flat out didn't work for a variety of crazy reasons. So I just like over and over got frustrated with it until I was handed a B1 and was like, hey, play with this. And I'm like, oh, you mean it actually fires when I hit the button? Like
yeah,
every time? So I can actually use it and figure out what's going on. I mean, I had a pair of Pocket Wizards that I was doing a Jersey wedding, dead of summer, a billion degrees out, and 100% humidity practically, except it wasn't raining. And
oh my,
I couldn't figure out why in all of God's name. Like you have your troubleshooting methods. It's like first you do this, and then it's this, and then what is happening? And I could not figure out why the stupid thing wouldn't fire. You know why it wouldn't fire? Because the little cushion between my flash and the pocket wizard that was supposed to cushion it, so I didn't like I don't know, scratch it, had melted down in front of the stupid sensor, and that's why it wasn't firing. Like you can't make this stuff up. It's
Oh my
so
gosh.
frustrating. So yeah, eventually I finally learned thanks to
it is
Profoto.
funny. I used to go to trade shows. I mean, this is literally I'm dating myself, but this is my 42nd year doing this. And I used to go to trade shows with a big button that had the letters TTL with a big red slash. I hated TTL until the B1s came out. When the B1s came out, everything changed. And it was
worked.
like, wait a minute. They work. What the hell is going on here? And it was all about the word pre-flash and the not just pre-flash, but Sweden's version of pre-flash worked and the durability of the product and all of that happened. And it was just like, wait a minute, game's over here. Because all of a sudden I got real dangerous. I could run into an executive's office, knock out some headshots of the president of the bank, and I'm out of there in 7 minutes. And I'd never had that before in my life.
Yep.
So it did.
Crazy.
It changed things for a lot of us, I think. Let's go back in history with you. What is it? Where did this start for you? I mean, I know a little bit about your background, but where did this? I mean, let's say stop at 20, but go back beyond the 20 years. Where did this love of photography come from?
Well, my mom, she used to be a wedding and portrait photographer, but that didn't, I didn't actually like it necessarily, maybe because she did, and that was a rebellious little thing. But I, I ended up going to high school, and I was sitting and taking, choosing what classes to take and electives, and my mom was sitting right next to me, and I was homeschooled for 9 years. So when he said the word elective, I'm like, what? What the hell is an elective? I'm sorry. What's an elective? And he starts rattling off. He's like, well, like wood shop or home ec or photography. And I'm like, well, I guess I'll make mom happy today. I'll take photography.
I'll do that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I did, and it was black and white film photography, and you could not drag me out of that darkroom, like at all. I would skip other classes to go. The teachers would get in fights.
So did this was did you get active in the photography at school, like yearbook photographer and that kind of thing?
I never did that kind of thing. I did some sports photography. I did photography just like for fun, like art school type photography. But my high school photography teacher was a wedding photographer. And after I graduated, I worked for him on the weekends while going to school to get a college degree, because I didn't realize that like a photographer was a real job. Like I thought I had to have a real job.
None of us did.
I went to school to become a Spanish teacher, and I became a Spanish teacher for a little while, and then I had to quit because I got too busy with my own weddings.
You sound like Roberto Valenzuela. He was.
Oh, really?
He was such a great teacher, a high school teacher, and he gave that up because this called him and dragged him into it.
But now, like him, we both still teach. So
same thing. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's it. Yeah.
Just adults, which are way better.
That's exactly what it was. I try to. I'm not great at keeping up with everybody, but I try to keep up with everybody. Certainly, the people that I care most about and respect the most. You've been pretty busy through this COVID thing, it sounds like, and not everyone has. And thankfully, we were shut down for a number of months, but we've come back a little bit with a vengeance, and we're 40-50% up from last year. And I don't know what it is that people are doing that have done that for them. What is it that you've done after, we're still not out of the woods yet with COVID, but what was it that you've done that's kept you this busy? Because you've been pretty busy.
Well, it has been the online education. I did a lot with that. I did more than normal. Because people needed, especially back in like March of it actually first getting locked down, everyone was online. So that meant that all of the companies that I normally work with every now and again, they all needed more online content than they ever did before.
Sure.
And my husband is a video producer. So we're in-house like video production team. So most of them, like we were the first ones they came to. They're like, we know you can produce this in your backyard where you're locked down. Like, what can you do?
Right.
So we did. And we did a lot of that. And then still doing, some of the other corporate stuff that we were able to manage to do we were able to do that. And then slowly from there. But the wedding photography side of my business, it went down 82%. 82
Oh
that
my.
year. It was crazy. We're just living
So
off like,
are you finding that you're now photographing bride and grooms that their wedding was not just shut down but postponed, and now they're having the weddings?
it's a combination of that, and then people where their original dates were, this year. So it's
Yeah.
it's the busiest wedding season since, I think they're saying, 1984, which is like the baby boom. And
Unbelievable.
next year is looking to surpass it. So
Unbelievable.
the busyness is crazy, and I've definitely seen some photographers mishandle the workload so far. Thankfully, I have
And that's
not.
a great way to look at it. There are people that are mishandling this.
Yeah, and
And
I don't blame photography. I mean, I
no,
kind of do, and I kind of don't. Like, it's just
yeah,
there's only so
it's
much you can
hard.
do to prepare. But at the same time, you're also noticing people not prepare correctly,
Yeah,
for
it's just
whatever
hard.
reason. Yeah.
And the work is still the work, and you still got to get it done, and you still got to get it done at
Mhm.
a high level.
Right.
But you can't drop. You're juggling so many balls. You can't drop a ball.
No, you
And
definitely
that's the
can't.
thing that certainly for new photographers out there, you can't miss a step. You can't drop a ball, because that's the
No.
one thing that everybody will remember about you, is that you
Yeah.
missed something.
I
Sadly,
have actually
but
a couple brides of mine from this year. I've already done their weddings, so got their albums and things like that. Have like messaged me, like, my friend got married this year. I have my album in my hands, and she hasn't even seen her photos yet. Like, and it's that kind of deal. So they notice
yeah,
it when you drop the ball. They notice it. They tell all their friends about it. Does not look good. That being
I
said,
saw a
we
survey
all need some
maybe
grace.
we do, and I saw a survey about maybe 10 years ago that said if you do a great job at somebody's wedding, they're going to tell 10 people.
Yeah.
If you do a really lousy job at somebody's wedding, they're going to tell 100 people.
Yes, they are.
And so, you might want to pay attention to what it is that you're doing, because the word is out.
Absolutely.
People are watching you. So do the best you can anytime out. So let's just, you mentioned, you talked about your husband. Let's talk about, it's Rob, right?
Yeah.
Let's talk about Rob and the importance of his side of life, the video side of your product offerings. How important is that to what you do? And do you guys pretty much offer videos and complete videos on every job or most jobs, or how does that work mostly?
We offer it together on 0 jobs, actually.
Okay.
We are our businesses are completely independent. I told him, I'm
Okay.
marrying you. I'm not marrying your business.
Okay. Good.
And most people don't know, unless it's a referral or, they know us more. They don't realize that we're husband and wife, because he's Rob Adams. I'm Vanessa
Sure.
Joy. Joy is my
Sure.
middle name, so I don't have
Right.
my last name there. So we refer each other, and people do know we work together, but we don't do any joint packages. Every once in a while, like, yeah, because both will throw in a little something here and there. But we decided to keep it separate, mostly because, at least in this area, we have found that the companies that are photo, video, DJ flower, limo rental, whatever it is, like, that are all
Everything. Yeah.
combined, the quality just went downhill. And we knew we wanted to be a step above. So we did not do a one-stop shop.
Locally, my wife does high school seniors and families, and it's the same thing. When I moved into the community, when we got married, and I moved into Oklahoma 4 or 5 years ago, 6 years ago, it's completely separate, and I'm doing 100% commercial work, editorial, advertising, magazine, fashion, and we've kept the businesses completely separate. But every once in a while, there's crossover, and we need each other, and we work together on projects. But it's the same thing. We just kept the businesses separate.
Yeah,
and it's been better, I think, actually.
It is, because then they can, when it comes to your personal relationship, like, he handles his stuff and he does things that maybe I want to do it the same way. That's his problem. It doesn't become mine. Yeah. That being said, we do have, like, our third business is one we own together, which is anything that's like the corporate video online education stuff that really we're doing together. I might be the face of it, but
Yeah.
he's doing all the rest.
Yeah. Yeah. So we have to have a small discussion on one small thing that you and I share.
Oh,
We both have a great love for Napa Red Zinfandel.
oh yes. How did you know that?
Well, because I pay attention. I shot a series of posters years ago for the Napa Chamber of Commerce when I was still in San Diego. They brought me to Napa for this thing, and I've been to Napa. I mean, I've been a number of times, but one of the trips, it was because the Chamber of Commerce up there brought me to Napa to shoot these posters. Oh my gosh! When you're hosted by the city of Napa, and you like wine, and you're there anyway. Oh my gosh!
So good.
how great was that? But as I'm going through my little wine, my handful of wine bottles, I was reading about your love for Red Zin, and I thought, yeah, we share that, so that's good.
Yes, absolutely. We do have a question in the chat. I don't know if you handle those
sure.
at the end or
I absolutely no. Go ahead and bring it on up now. Sure.
Jude said, "Hi, I'm very new to photography, and I was wondering, do you edit your own photos? And if so, what tools do you use?" I'm curious. Do you edit your own photos?
I do. As a commercial guy, my wife sends out some of her work. She edits most of it in the world of high school seniors and family portraits, and she does a handful of weddings, not very many. But for me, with commercial work, I edit and retouch everything myself. And I've gotten pretty good at it. I shoot mostly captured. I'm shooting tethered into Capture One on most of my things. I try to retouch my own stuff before I deliver it. But for me, I'm delivering files. I'm not delivering prints at all. So,
right.
How about you?
I send everything out except for my favorites. I mean, I send everything out, including my favorites, but the favorites of mine, I use Lightroom. I use Canon cameras with Wi-Fi, and I just Wi-Fi them to my phone. Then I do the reception.
Right.
Edit some of my favorites there in Lightroom. I do use my own presets. They're presets.breatheyourpassion.com, or you can go to vanessajoy.com and you'll find a Pro Edu tab. But I'll do my favorites, which might be like 30 pictures on a wedding day. Sometimes it's 80. It just depends on what it is. And then I edit my own stuff when I'm doing like YouTube videos and showing how I would edit.
Sure.
But for the main workflow of my business, I absolutely do not. I use Freedom Edits. They're incredible. I upload my raw files. They cull them for me. They correct them for me. They upload them to an online gallery, and they tell me it's done. And that is how I am still not behind, even in this crazy year.
So did you meet with them early on or go back and forth a couple of times so they know your style and they know what you like?
Yep,
so they work
a whole
specifically
onboarding
to
process.
fit. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, it's
good. Good. Well, I think that's a good tip for those that are new to this. It can become overwhelming. And in the film days, we all did everything exactly the same. We shot, our film went to the lab, it came back from the lab. We picked the ones, we taped the negatives, we sent them back to the lab. But once we hit digital, nobody does the same thing the same way. Everybody's the work, somebody teaching workflow, that's crazy because it's all different.
Completely different.
And it is. Everybody has a different method and design and idea on what's a great workflow. And so the more we can send our work out, honestly, if you're shooting any kind of volume at all, the better you're going to be, because you will bog down. You'll miss dinner with your family. You're going to miss weekends, and you can't do it. It's not. Digital was designed to save us time and money, not cost us time and money. and if you're losing time and money, you're doing it wrong. So, good answer on that. Send it out. Get it done. Okay. So one of the things is one of my questions for you specifically was, you're such a breath of sunshine, honestly. And somewhere along the way, you had to know that, hey, I'm doing this pretty well, and I'm getting pretty good at this. And there had to be maybe a switch or something in your own confidence in your abilities. Where and what was it that happened that made you think, I'm pretty good at this, and I think I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do this well? What happened
Like
somewhere
teach
along
in
the way?
general.
You think, well, no, but in shooting and getting the work, and yeah, I mean, all of a sudden you didn't just come from nowhere. You built this up. It's like the rock and roll band that's got the overnight success, but they've been working at it for 30 years or so. Where was there any one or two things along your path that happened that made you go, oh, I guess I'm doing okay at this? Has anything like that ever happened?
Well, it was first when my high school photography teacher decided to hire me. And I was
Sure.
just an assistant at first, or I did like second shooting for him, which was very different from what second shooting is now. It was almost like if I got a good shot, like great. If not, whatever. It wasn't made to do anything important. It was just like the PJ stuff. So um, that was probably the first one, and I learned a ton from him and working for him for 5 years. And then the second one was probably when a friend of mine, Kenny Kim, he's also in
I
this
love Kenny Kim.
circuit. Yeah, he's great. I had met him and he'd seen my work and he knew I worked for this other guy and he asked me like, why don't you do this for yourself? I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, there's no way I could do this for myself. He's like, no, you can. You're good at this. Like, you can. Um, and thanks to him, I started my own business because I'm not sure I would have otherwise.
Really? Does he know that?
He does. Yes, I have to say it all the time.
He's the sweetest guy. I'm an enormous fan of a ukulele player named Jake Shimabukura from Hawaii. And Kenny's wife has played on stage with him a number of times.
Oh, she's amazing.
She's amazing. And just knowing him, I've never met his wife, but just knowing him and that she's with him is kind of cool,
It is.
And he's shooting destination weddings all over the world. God bless him. I'm so glad they're getting that great work,
Yeah, they're
and
great people.
they're foodies and they love great foods from all over the world. So it's fun.
And good wine.
And good wines. That's it. It's great. And
secret.
It's funny that everybody that I know, and I'm not kidding about this. I know a lot of top photographers around the world. Everybody that I know that's at the top of their game are pretty good folks. There's not any butt heads at the top.
Yeah, they get kicked out pretty early.
In the 80s, it was different. In the 80s, everybody that was a butthead was at the top of their game. And now, if you're at the top of your game, you deserve to be there. You've got great clients. They love you. You're doing great work. And you're willing to share. And you're nice people. It wasn't that way 20 years ago.
Oh, that's interesting.
Or
it's
30 years ago.
Then.
It's a big shift. It's great. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about lighting. You and I share a great love for pro photo.
Yes.
I have just completed a whole new series of pictures on the new B10X that I've just completed. That I'm so blown away with this light. And but the B1 changed everything for me because it gave me a true great TTL exposure. And it taught me the whole world of high-speed sync that actually works and makes sense, where nothing made sense before in the world of TTL, flash, or high-speed sync. I know you share the same brand, but what is it about your gear, or what kind of gear are you using to sort of set you apart from your competition?
For me, it's just the reliability of the gear. I can use it whenever and need to do it whenever, and it's not going to misfire, and it's not going to make me look like an idiot who doesn't know how to use her gear because it's not firing or it's not doing what I want it to or coming out right. I think that sets me apart. I tell my clients all the time, like, you never have to worry if it rains on your wedding day. Like, I bring the sun. I can make it look like it's
that's a great line.
raining. Yeah.
That's a great line. I do think that's a really good way to look at it. I mean, for me, I always talk about the airport gorillas doing everything they can to break my gear when most of my work is on the road.
Yeah.
And the airport guys will break your gear.
Yep.
They can't break 100%. my pro photo gear. It still works. When I get to the other end, get off a plane, go to my location, set up to shoot, it still works.
Wow,
they can't break it.
You check it?
I do check it, and sometimes I'll FedEx it ahead.
That's
but
awesome.
Either way, it still works, and I've not had anything that does that. People say, "Why do you spend that kind of money?"
Because it still works. I dropped my B1 off a cliff once, and it still worked.
I have a broken I have a B10 right here that's going in for service that got dropped, and you can see the back of it. You see how all the plastic's broken off this bottom part.
Yeah.
And when I turn it on, it makes a funny noise and looks goofy, and you can't read the LED, but it works. And the remote the remote will still power it up and down, and I can hit and it still fires. And I'm like, wait a minute! It went from 10 feet onto a cement sidewalk maybe a week ago, and it still works. Yep. So I don't know. People say, why do you spend that kind of money? Well, because it still works.
And
you can't break it.
I'm pretty sure not only can you just not break it, but if something happens, you can get a hold of customer service really easily, right?
Well, there is customer service.
Exactly.
There's a lot of brands in this country now that are very popular. There is no service in this country.
Yes.
Which is kind of a sad situation.
Yep.
So let me ask you this. So on the day of an event, let's say you're shooting and you're at some country club and you're doing a monster job. Do you like to light the room and have like an onboard flash and then have lights set up around the room to augment that? Or what do you do for setup for something like that?
If I can, at all costs, I will bounce flash and do nothing else. Because one, it's easier. I mean, I bring my lights so I can do whatever I want, but one, it's easier. Two, it's less of a liability because no matter where you hide it or where you sandbag it, like some idiot drunk person is just going to fall over it at some point. Right. And three, it's just easier if I'm also at a place where there's multiple rooms and I have to go from place to place. I can't bring my lights with me every time. And I also can't change the direction of them every time unless I have one set up in every single corner and I'm taking the time to turn the heads on and off, which is an option. But again, then that's not easy and it's not streamlined. And I know how to bounce flash so it gets the look I want. Actually, one of the recent things I started doing is I put the light on my A1X and I put it on, but instead of being straight up, I tilt it just a smidge forward like that. And then I'll use, if there's a video guy or DJ lights, I'll use those lights as my off-camera flashes. Right. And those will be my off lights or my back lights. And then I just do like that little bit of fill that actually ends up kind of spotlighting them. And it's pretty fun.
Fantastic. Fantastic.
But
I found myself recently lighting my assistant. My assistant wore a white shirt and I had him take his jacket off. And I just spun the A10 and bounced it off the back. And I just said, turn your back to me. And I bounced it off his back and it bounced the light across the wedding cake. And it looked fabulous.
Perfect. Oh, I've used a piece of paper before. When I wanted something. Doesn't
take a lot. But to do that kind of stuff, you just have to know your craft. So I implore everybody that's paying attention here and listening and tuning in with us, just pay attention to the craft. There's so much going on with the craft of photography that you need to know and just pay attention to, So, that's absolutely fantastic. So there's a couple of questions I have. One is, so if somebody's brand new stepping into this world and they're stepping into specifically wedding and event photography, is there any one or two things that you would say that they absolutely have to know stepping into this world?
Oh my gosh. If I'm going to look at the people that I've seen fail, because I'll look at it from that perspective, people that I see fail in photography or get frustrated by it easily are the ones with the biggest egos. And those people with the biggest egos, they can't stand to see people succeed around them. So then they end up being jealous. They end up not making friends, and you need friends to grow in this industry. Or they think they deserve things that they just don't, so they don't grow. They don't, they think they already deserve it, right? So then why would they grow in their craft? So that would probably be like the biggest thing is like just check your ego at the door, make friends, smile, and learn something.
Yeah, I think I heard a business guru years and years ago saying the best conversationalist in the world is the one that's not talking, that's just doing the most listening.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
I apologize, by the way. Everyone's like, she's moving a lot. She's blowing her nose. I had
That's
surgery
okay.
this morning. I've got, this is where the IV was. I've got like my leg
my
up in weird
gosh.
positions. So
Oh
if
my
you're like,
gosh.
Vanessa looks like she's crazy.
They did
that's
you
why.
said they did ankle surgery or foot surgery this morning?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Oh, well, thank you for not canceling on us.
No,
Thanks
I'm
for
here.
doing this.
I'm here. Dark circles.
Okay, well, we don't have much more to go. We just have a couple more things, and I keep watching over. I keep looking over at the chat room. I'm not seeing
yes.
I'm not seeing
There's
any
a couple
questions.
questions here.
Yeah, a couple of
I think
things.
we answered one. Jay asked about the lighting setup and what do you use for weddings and receptions? Do you keep it simple? So we just answered that actually.
Yeah.
And then Yash said, how do you guys imagine or plan a photo or like pre-shoot to edit table?
Yeah.
You must do more pre-shoot planning, like storyboarding.
I do mostly much of my work. It's funny. When I teach in my workshops, I talk about the fact that there are three people involved in every photograph I take. There's a person that thought of the picture, the person that took the picture, and the person that viewed the picture. And so, as a fine art photographer, you think of the picture and you shoot the picture, then you sell it, and hopefully somebody's viewing it in their home or in the hallway at the bank, the local bank. Or if you're a wedding or a portrait photographer, you sometimes think of the picture and shoot the picture, and it's hanging at somebody's wall. If you're a commercial guy, somebody else thought of the picture. You just shoot the picture, and then some business traveler at 35,000 feet on an airplane sees it in a magazine. So you have to know where you are in the pecking order. For me, it's always been about, okay, who am I trying to please here? And, the old rule of beauty is in the eye of the checkbook holder, and the idea that I don't have to be crazy, egotistical maniac boy about one of my ideas for a picture. I just need my client to love what it is that I do and pay my day rates for the things that I do on their behalf. And they have to, and I've got to make my clients look great, whether it's a fashion catalog or a commercial editorial shoot. In the wedding world, I understand. I mean, I've done 600-800 weddings myself. I get the idea that they're coming to you in most cases from a referral, either from a previous bride or the wedding planner or the florist or the jeweler or the venue, but you're usually getting a referral. And so the good news about that is if you've kept your nose clean and you're doing a good job up front, you've got a little bit of a step up on everybody else going into this thing. You just have to follow through and not mess it up. And most people don't mess it up. They do a good job, So is there anything that you know of that would cause a problem, that is a big issue with, certainly in the world of weddings, where you can't recover from this? This is a big problem. Has that ever popped up in your radar at all?
I don't really think.
Maybe not so much for you, but have you heard of it?
I'm going to talk about for me, but just in general. So we don't have repeat clients, right? So you can make the biggest mistake in the world and it'll die out in the next round or two of couples getting married. It's a weird thing, which is why there are a lot of long-term, not so great wedding photographers out there, wedding professionals, I would have to say, because it kind of goes all over. So it's a weird thing. It's actually kind of, you have to be like a real jerk, like steal someone's money and not show up for you to not be able to continue some form of wedding photography.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, because they
Yeah.
just don't know. I mean, I knew people that had like F ratings on the BBB and they would still book weddings.
And they're still getting work somehow.
Yep. Yeah.
I had a wedding planner that when I first started, I was in the middle of no place, West Texas, at the peak of the oil business boom, and where this little town that I was in went, from nothing to multimillionaires, private aircraft, a Rolls Royce dealership. I mean, it went crazy for a few years in the 80s because of the oil boom. And one of the florists told me, he said, I can get you a lot more work if you would double or triple or quadruple your pricing. He said, I'm bringing in photographers from Dallas, New York, LA to shoot some of these major weddings because you're too cheap. And I said, does quality factor in? He said, not at all.
Yeah.
At some level there, they know that you've got the ability to do the work. But if the florist is charging this and the caterer is charging this and you're down here at this, you're never going to get this work.
It's true.
Doesn't matter where your quality is at some point. You got to be relative to the other vendors in the scenario.
Very, very
and I
true.
thought, what a thing. I'm so glad he told me that because it taught me a lot,
Yeah,
made me some money that year.
That luxury market, psychology really is what it is.
It's true. Okay, so offline, you and I've been talking about your possible move to Austin, Texas.
Yes.
Tell me about that. What's going on with Austin, Texas? Are you going? Are you going to leave New Jersey?
So I'd like to say I'm expanding to Austin, Texas.
Good.
In a way, I'm like wintering there because I'm flying back so much here for work, and then the business here, I'm expanding to have associate teams. So that's working great. So far, so good. I have amazing people that work with me. I just adore them. Most of them have been with me for like over a decade. So they're all fantastic. They're just such a part of the team. And so we're going to do a move. We're building a house. We're waiting for it to be done, but likely before I ever have to pick up a snow shovel again, will I be in Texas. That's my goal anyway. I don't want to pick up a snow shovel ever again.
When I left Morristown, New Jersey, and moved back to San Diego, I lived in San Diego previously, but after 7 years in New Jersey, when I moved back to San Diego, I had a pretty good sized yard in Morristown, and I remember shoveling all the leaves out to the street. And the local community I lived in, which was Morristown, they would come by with these gigantic vacuum cleaners and suck up all the leaves. Anyway, there was this big pile of leaves in front of my house. The first fall in San Diego, I had a little tree out front and it dropped 3 leaves. And so I got my rake and I stood out there and took a picture of me and these 3 leaves on the ground and sent to my neighbors in New Jersey, so
just quality of life.
Quality of life. Once you make a big move, people get it. It doesn't take a genius to figure it out. They know what you're doing, and it's a good thing. Well, you'll learn that certainly Austin is an amazing community. I'm down there as often as I can get there. I love Austin, and so great food, great music, lots and lots of live music, and I'm a lover of music. I mean, clearly from some of the things you see on my walls. And I play, I played guitar and drums, and I've been around music my whole life, and I just love going to Austin for that music. And you're gonna love it.
Live music capital of the world, right? Tennessee is like the music capital of the world, or the country music capital of the world.
Yeah.
Austin's got the live stuff. So
the live stuff. Austin City Limits is fantastic. So what's next for you? Let's talk about you and your business. What's next? What do you want to do? What do you want to change? And now's a good opportunity for you to sort
Yeah.
of target correct if you're off on something? Anything you want to change or do better?
Yes. So I did that thing where I raised my prices a ton. That's working
Okay.
out really well. And I am going to invest a little bit more on the online education that I do. Right now, my main core, I mean, I have a lot of like little baby courses. I do have a book I wrote about off-camera flash, but I want to do more. So I actually just finished writing and putting together 3 new books on mostly
Fantastic.
photography, but the business side of it as well. So I'm going to self-publish them very soon. And then I want to create a lighting course online that'll
Fantastic.
walk really the beginners through, because I find at least when I was trying to learn Flash, or even now when I look at how people teach it, it's just not that easy to grasp, which is something I really tried to do with the book I wrote. It's meant for someone that does not quite understand Flash yet. It's also meant
Right.
and has the immediate, intermediate, and advanced stuff. But I wrote it in a way that's simplistic and not dumbed down, but just
Sure.
correctly explains terms until people understand and can use them. So it's just that's what I want to do, but in a video course.
Yeah, it's funny. It's funny when the easy pickings, the low hanging fruit, so to speak, is the posing and working with your clients. Nobody wants to talk about lighting.
No, they don't.
Because it's boring and there's nothing.
Or
there
business.
is no, or the business. You're right,
Yeah.
and there's no glamour in that. And so in my lighting workshops, I've found that if I don't spice them up and make them sort of fun, nobody will show up.
Right.
And so
true.
you've got to make it a little bit more palatable for people. But it's the foundation of our craft.
It is. That's literally what photography means.
We've got to have it. Well, I am obviously I'm sending you great vibes for your new venture.
Thank you.
Do you have any final comments? Anything you'd like to say? We've been here for a while, and we're going to let everybody go shortly.
Because I saw Al asked, "What's my favorite pizza?" And I really wanted to answer that. I mean, he said, "Would you have some of your favorite pizza to share?" So I'm assuming he's asking, "What's my favorite pizza?" And
sure.
Give anything for like a New York crispy crust with tons of vegetables on top. I just love it.
Fantastic. I'm looking through to see if there's
any pizza I would eat.
It's funny. There so many of us that are doing this have done this for our profession, as our craft, for our livelihood. We all think the same way. We all have different disciplines, and maybe we've taken our work a different direction, but it doesn't matter. We're all in this together. And I find that most people are pretty willing to share. And I do hope that as we move forward, more and more people will learn that, hey, if you've got a mentor or a hero that you're following, whether it's on Instagram or wherever it is, give them a call. They'll probably answer the phone. And you're going to find they're probably pretty nice folks, and they'll answer your questions.
Yeah.
Just try it. Just reach out and talk to people. We're a pretty friendly bunch,
Or catch us at trade shows, which is always the best time to catch us, because we're like in that mode of teaching.
We always try to show up at all the trade shows.
Yes. Hopefully WPPI, Jimmy. I did apply to speak.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll be there this year for sure. Well, Vanessa, thank you so much. I think we've been doing this for a while. I think we'll let you go and let everybody have the rest of the day off. If there's any questions that anybody has, feel free to reach out to Vanessa. I know how great she is at responding. If you have any questions for me, it's certainly Tony at TonyCorbell.com. I'll respond as well. Thank you. I can't thank enough Profoto for coming up with this idea, this concept. And these things will live. These things are being recorded, and they're going to live on YouTube for a long time. And it's just it's an opportunity where we can sit down and just have a conversation. And I'm thrilled that they're doing it as well. Thank you to Fujifilm. I've recently picked up the new Fujifilm GFX 100S, 102 megapixels of madness. This is the most amazing thing I've ever touched. but yeah, but overall, we are all in this together, and we will help you as much as we can. All of us will. So feel free to reach out. So Vanessa, thank you. Thank you
Thank
so much.
you.
I'm going to